Thank you so much for joining us here once again for Resolution Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joshua Flores. I will be your host through this journey into the world of resolution and how we're going to change the financial ecosystem that you are so used to having to deal with big banks and big corporations running how you are able to fund businesses, and we're going to put that money right back into the hands of small businesses and everyday people. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am here with the owner and founder and CEO of Resolution, Mr. Matt Etzwold. Thank you for joining me again.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for having me to join you all on this journey through the world of finance that is Resolution. Super excited. A lot of stuff we talked about on the last episode. We're going to keep going right into it. We're going to touch a little bit more on how does Resolution promote transparency and trust within its decentralized network. I know that Resolution is looking to step away from the traditional forms of funding, the traditional forms of dealing with big businesses and big banks when it comes to dealing with investors and people being able to put money into the hands of businesses. How are we shaking that up?
Yeah, so we're using blockchain to make everything transparent. That is the beauty of blockchain. Is it is an immutable ledger where you can keep track of your investments and you can keep track of the money that you've worked hard for that you spend on these investments. That everything now I feel is opaque. It's very hard to see where things are going, see how money is spent, see who's spending the money. So what we're going to do is use blockchain and we're going to use smart contracts to create transparency and automation that you simply don't have right now.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of the opaqueness of the way funding works nowadays, you have these big banks, big businesses, they get bailouts from the government, they get these huge grants, and then instead of being able to see where that money's going, you end up seeing a financial report later that 1,500 employees got laid off and the CEO just bought a new jet. And then you're wondering to yourself, why did they need a bailout if they're letting people go? Whereas through your decentralized process and through the transparency of Resolution, we're able to put our funds into businesses that we actually care about. And we're able to see that our dollars are lifting them up and are able to provide more jobs and provide more services for the people that we actually care about.
Exactly. So a bank loves to take your money and they love to loan your money out and they like to make money on your money and then charge you for making that money. So to us, that doesn't make sense. We believe that the community should be the ones financially backing the businesses in their own backyard and that they should benefit from that financial benefit that the business is already generating. Banks, they serve a purpose, right? But I think they overstep their grounds when they take away from the citizens that keep them in business. It's us that they need our money for, and then they loan them to the businesses, but all of that value is extracted. And we're trying to circulate that value.
Right.
We're trying to take the individual that works a 9 to 5, take their paycheck, put it in a business they already interact with on a daily basis, and have that financial backing come back to them once that business is successful, which they're already showing the revenue they generate.
Right. And with the banks, like you said, they take your money, loan it out. They're getting the double return on that. So all of that extra extracting, just like you explained, is going back into their hands. Whereas with Resolution, we're putting the money back into your hands. Granted, yes, as with anything, there will be some minor fees. But these fees, like we had discussed in the last episode, are going to be going into pools to be returns to the everyday people. Not looking to take from everybody, not looking to drain the system dry. We're looking to actually feed and fuel small businesses and companies that rely on the good faith of everyday people.
Exactly. So we're going to be smart about our fee structure. We're actually going to split it in 4 ways. Part of it goes to the blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
part of it goes to the team,
Mm-hmm.
part of it goes to research and development, and then part of it will go to the to the pools. So that's where the community will be able to vote on how those pools are used. So my vision one day is that these pools will go to things like building parks in your neighborhood, or building a new grocery store in your neighborhood. You know, these are the things that will truly benefit and change lives, rather than just a bank making interest and charging you a fee to do so.
Right. And being able to see, have the actual investors be able to see where their money is going through every step of it, through the fees, through the governance of the businesses, is a great way to keep peace of mind in your investors and to make sure that everybody has that feeling of inclusiveness in the environment that Resolution is looking to build.
Exactly. You know, it's amazing how we're locked out of the value that we create every single day. And, you know, we're trying our best to stay afloat here, but nobody wants to throw us a life raft. You know, if you drown, you're on your own. And we don't believe that's the way it should be here at Resolution. You know, it's all about community. It's community is the power within um, a system that is a state, a city, and even a country. And we want to take that power and we want it to go back to uh, families and to the kids. You know, that's who we're really thinking about. You got to think, what are we leaving our next generation? A bunch of debt and inflation. And Resolution wants to leave it economic infrastructure. It wants to leave it an opportunity to create generational wealth again.
That's an incredible point. And speaking of the next generation, speaking of the future, what is Resolution's roadmap for growth? What are the chain plans and new features that you have in mind as we continue to grow with Resolution?
So right now we're working on securing funding to build our platform. We'll be launching in a couple different phases, and the first phase will be Resil Fund. So Resil Fund is going to be the basics between investor and businesses. We'll verify businesses, and then we'll be allowed to investors to read through the data that is provided, to have that peace of mind knowing where their investment goes, and then being able to have the smart contract do the rest of the work for them. Sort of a set it and forget it mechanism, right? Which there isn't anything like that in the financial sphere,
Right.
as we know.
Right.
So we're creating efficiency and automation in ways that just don't exist right now. And that's where we believe the people deserve this kind of enhancement. You know, we enhance a lot of things, but it's never to our benefit and never to our financial benefit. You know, it's always something that is so far out of reach that, you know, we really can't experience what benefit it has to offer.
Right. It's it's beautiful to be able to see that with the Resolution. Once again, we're touching on the point of that transparency. We can see what it has to offer. We can see where it's growing. You spoke about the Resel Fund as the first step. What is going to be the next step of the release process?
Right. So in phase two, we'll be launching Resil Mall and Resil Pay, which will be our decentralized marketplace and our decentralized payment system. So these will feed into Resil Fund, because once you have a business generating revenue, you're going to be able to have that business put themselves on the marketplace. Then you're going to be able to invest. Imagine if Amazon allowed you to invest in the overhead of their businesses that conduct business every day, and you're able to make a financial benefit not only from the business, but from the individuals that are buying the necessities they need for everyday life.
Right, because in our last episode, make sure to go back if you haven't seen the first episode where I touch base with Matt for the first time and we really touch base on all of the things that Resolution is bringing to us. We spoke of the option of a pizza shop needing a pizza oven. Once they get that funding, once we have the mall in place for the local area, said pizza shop could put their services and put their goods on the Resolution Mall. So somebody could just go onto the mall, order a pizza, and there's another way that the investors in said pizza shop can see in real time that the business that they invested in is getting their sales and they're getting a return on their investment and they can see it in real time right there in the mall. So whether you invest in a pizza shop, a toy store, an electronics store, any business that you really truly believe in, once they put their once they put their products on the Resil Mall, every purchase that's made, like he said, as if Amazon were to do this, we'd be able to see a lot of return on our purchases as well. But you'll be able to get an instant return on all of those purchases.
Exactly. If you have, we have online e-commerce and then we have in real life commerce. And both of them can utilize the mall to sell their goods and services. And both of them can use the payment system to offer even more value and economic utility in our ecosystem.
Right. So beyond phase two, are we looking at anything beyond phase two as of right now, or are we just looking at the first two phases in order to really get Resolution off the ground?
Well, we're concentrated on the first two, especially the first one, because that's going to show us the demand and the traction for this idea. We know that businesses need funds to expand or hire whatever they want to do. And we know that people are always going to want to buy goods and services for their necessities. But I think there's things that we haven't even been able to imagine yet for what Resolution and its economic infrastructure is going to allow us to do.
And that's the amazing thing about Resolution, with it being a truly decentralized, transparent, and crowd funded and crowd based ecosystem. We are able to grow with you, and as you communicate with us on the things that you see could be possible needs, could be possible steps of growth for Resolution, for the ecosystem, we can make those changes, we can make those steps and be able to build and evolve Resolution into being a platform that really is there for us all.
Exactly. And it goes past even finance because what you get with infrastructure is potential, right? And if we talk past finance, what we're doing is we're not decentralizing currency, we're decentralizing systems. And there's many systems past finance that we interact with on a daily basis. Let's talk about energy. Let's talk about retirement. Let's talk about healthcare. All of these things can be affected by the pools that we're creating from the fees generated in the ecosystem through economic movement all the time.
Absolutely. And every investment, every purchase, every return will just help to build those pools and will help to bring value and worth into the lives of everybody that's involved, whether you be an investor, whether you be a business, or whatever your place may be in the Resolution ecosystem, you can grow along with us.
Exactly. We're creating synergistic relationships in an economic ecosystem that hasn't existed before.
Right.
Whether you're funding a business, whether you're buying goods and services, whether you're paying for goods in real life, all of those feedback into a community, which is at the heart of Resolution.
Absolutely. And so, speaking of the community, what role particularly does the community play in shaping the future of Resolution?
Right, so that's where our DAO structure, or decentralized autonomous organization, comes into play. That, again, with these pools that are created from the economic movement in the system, they will be able to vote and they will be able to have an actual say of what happens in their new economy. And in the ecosystem, that you'll see it will continue to grow in ways that they're going to be able to offer their own ideas and their own inventions. This is something that Resolution is going to lay the foundation for, but we want the community to come alongside and build the structure upon that foundation.
Right. And how will the community be able to find where they can do these votes, where they can see the growth? Is that all going to be on the platform on the resolution.io, or is that also going to be on X and Discord? How are they going to be able to see where exactly all of the growth is happening?
Right. So for right now, to get involved, the best place would be to start is our website. There you can read all about the project and what we're doing at Resolution. You can also meet Eden. So we're creating educational assets, and Eden is our first digital AI ambassador. She's there to take complex concepts inside Resolution and give simple responses in a conversational manner to where you can ask back and forth, hey, what is Resolution? How does it help me as a business? How does it help me as an investor? And being able to understand that will allow you to see the full vision of what we want to build one day.
Right. I will say, speaking of Eden, I've had some great conversations with Eden, the AI of Resolution, in order to really be able to learn what it is that Resolution has to offer, in order to be able to do my research for being able to do this podcast with you. Speaking to Eden, she does give such succinct answers, such e- necessarily easy answers that anybody who is any kind of experience level in the financial markets, whether you're a brand new beginner, whether you've never invested before, whether you're affluent in the stock markets and centralized ecosystems and cryptocurrency and everything, whether whatever your level is, she can speak to you in a way that is understandable, relatable, and helps you to learn in the best way possible. So the work that's been done with Eden is incredible, and she's such an amazing tool to be able to use to learn exactly everything Resolution has to offer.
Exactly. And that's what we're focused on right now is education. We feel there's a huge gap in education in this space about blockchain and all of its encompassing technologies in general. And that's where we want to focus on educating the public on its true potential. I think we've been cut short on what people believe is possible with this technology. And with Resolution, we're here to explain there's much more. We've only scratched the surface of what is possible and what's actually happening in the space. From smart contracts to blockchain to NFT identities. And I'll touch on that. So, we actually utilize NFT identities to organize the entire ecosystem. And an NFT, all it is it's called a non fungible token, and there is none other like it than yours. So every business, every investor, every consumer is going to be assigned an NFT identity in the ecosystem. With that NFT identity, they will be attached to their real world credentials, which you'll be able to know who you're dealing with on the other side. Not only that, on the back end, we're going to attach a reputation scoring system that when you benefit in a positive or negative way to the ecosystem, that follows you throughout. That way, people are able to know who you say you are and what your contribution to Resolution truly is.
Right. And being able to assign each business, each organization, each individual an NFT identity, that keeps us from being able to have people creating false accounts, scammers, anything that where people might be able to step in and undermine the truth of somebody else. So you
Exactly.
won't be able to have somebody else claiming to be the pizzeria.
Exactly. So, nothing is without risk, and we're not here saying that this is 100% guaranteed, but we are doing everything in our power to make sure that you can have the best outcome when using Resolution that you could possibly have.
That's amazing. Such an awesome platform, such an amazing ecosystem and infrastructure that you guys are trying to put together. The team is doing an amazing job so far. Everything that I've seen so far, naturally I do have a little bit of an inside view, but everything that I've seen so far has been amazing. Everything that I've seen so far has me very excited for everything that Resolution has to offer for the everyday working man and woman in the world. This is not just an America thing. This is not just a country thing. This is not a local thing. This is a worldwide thing that will be able to bring value to everyone that is interested in being able to be involved in their local economy. Matt, once again, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much for joining us here on Resolution Talk. Fans, do yourself a favor. Go check out our first video if you have not checked that out. Like, subscribe, follow us on X, on Twitter, on YouTube, and any of your other social media outlets. Make sure that you go on to resolution.io. Have a conversation with Eden. Right down there in the bottom of the screen where she's saying need help, have a conversation with Eden. Ask her any of the questions that you might have from watching this video and see just what you can learn about how you can join the people's ecosystem. Thank you so much. See you next time.